Om Vakradunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya Namaha Om Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya Om Namo Narayanaya Om Namo Narayanaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha Om Shri Radha Krishnaya Namaha Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha Om Shri Ramachandraya Namaha Om Namah Shivaya Om Aim Reem Klim Chamundaye Viche Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Yadevi Sarvabhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samsita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Shri Guru Stotram Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha, Shri Sadguru Bhyo Namaha. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the Atma. So we're looking at the Vivek Chudamani, the Vachanamrut, Bhagavad Gita, Pratyabhigna Hridayam, and related ideas in scriptures, and the teachings of the great sages, the lives of their lives that they have lived, etc., to guide us in the realization of the actual realization of the Atma. The Atma is Satchidananda Brahma, meaning what? That it is truth, consciousness and bliss solidified. It is the one reality that is present everywhere, as per the Vedantic teachers. As we have been examining Vivek Chudamani, we will look at verse number 9 today and see what its practical applications are. There's always a practical application behind every spiritual teaching by the great sages. So along those lines, you will see here in verse number 9 that I'll read the translation first, then we'll go into the Sanskrit. Having ascended the path of yoga through continuous and right discrimination, one should lift oneself from the ocean of change and finitude wherein one has come to be drowned. Meaning what? This word sansar, see this word here, it is sansara varidho. Sansara varidho means what? The ocean of change. Each word in this verse is worth meditating on. Meditating on these words is itself a very great transformative process. So when we talk about application in life, so I'm going to try to show what the applications are of each of these words in our day-to-day existence. The first word here is uddaret. Uddaret means what? It means upliftment, taking oneself further by one's own effort. Atmana, atmana, atmanam, atmana, atmanam. See the two words here, uddaret, atmana, atmanam. This in the Bhagavad Gita, there's also a similar shlok. Uddareda Atmanatmanam. We looked at that before, I think last year sometime. So what is the meaning behind this? Uplift. First of all, when we say uddaret, meaning going further above, going further to the top. Our energies are going towards Sahasrara Chakra and beyond. That is really its meaning in terms of energy. We know that in life, in every aspect of life, whether it's relationships, whether it's our work environment, whether it's our interaction with our family members, whether it's our day-to-day activity, our life is either our consciousness, our psychological consciousness, it's either progressing further up or many times it is getting degraded down. And sometimes it can just remain somewhat neutral. So when the word uddaret is used, Shankaracharya is clearly indicating that it is possible to take one's life in a higher dimension, in a higher reality, further and further up. This is true in every area of life. In anything we want to accomplish in the material world, the same principle is present. If we want to achieve a degree, we want to achieve a success in business, we want to have success in family life, we want to have success with our relationships, we want to have success in career, we want to enjoy the material world. Even in terms of material world, this is applicable. In fact, it is right in front of us that in the material world, we can try to progress in the material world, and people have done so. So the application of each of these verses is in the material world and through the material world to rise above it into the Brahmic state. So when he's using the word Atmana, Atmanam means that is not referring to the Atma. Here the word Atma here doesn't mean that spiritual Atma that we've been talking about. Here it means that you uplift using your power, using your mind, using what you have available to take yourself forward, because nobody else is going to take you forward. Gurus can give guidance, parents can give guidance, teachers can give guidance. But at the end of the day, and at the beginning of the day, and in the middle of the day, you are the only one who has to put your efforts in a direction for upliftment. Nobody else can. Nobody else can. So Shankaracharya ji is challenging us, encouraging us. He is pleading even with us that do not waste this extraordinary opportunity of the human body, which we've talked about already, the Durlabham Trayame Vedat. Now, what is upliftment versus degradation? What's the difference? Well, as per Vivek Chudamani, the degradation is drowning in the ocean of the sansara, ocean of change. See? Magnam, see this word? Magnam samsara varidho. Magnam meaning one is just lost inside the ocean of change. What a statement this is. See, this is Brahma Vidya. If you want to realize the Brahmic state, we must see the sansara as the ocean of transmigration, ocean of change. Our body is also changing. Everything is changing. Okay, we know that. Everybody knows that. Who doesn't know that? So what is the meditation? What is the application? Again, you can go into a temple or a church or a mosque or any religious place. No problem. That is a good place to begin. And really bring the belief that God is with me, and God is with me completely, and I'm doing some ritual or devotional practice or whatever. That's a good way to begin to realize the ocean of change. Another way to do that is to go into nature. And I give a reference, Swami Chinmayanand's guru. He has written a book called God Without a Temple. Because he was in the Himalayas. There was no particular temple he was in. He was roaming. I think his name was Tapovan Maharaj. And there's I have the book actually here in my whole library, The God Without a Temple. And what that means is that God is everywhere. So that is the state we want to get to. That doesn't mean we reject temples and to stop going to temples and all that. That's not what that means. Those are good things to do. They should be done. That helps us to realize the distinction between upliftment and degradation by doing sadhana. Any sadhana. Sadhana is this point, Uddareda Atmanatmanam. Sadhana is performed whether we're doing the different sahasranamas, or we're doing different japas or different havans or yagnas or yoga, or any practice that is done, psycho-spiritual practice, is an attempt to uplift oneself. Now, uplift oneself meaning what? Take your energy forward and transmute it into ojas. That is really what it actually means. Because the Atma actually is not doing anything as such. It is a witnessing consciousness. It is present all the time. The Atma is the Shiva in that sense. The Shakti is what we have purview over. We are aware of Shakti. We're not aware of the Atma. You cannot become aware of the Atma. The Atma is aware of everything. Atma itself is the awareness. You see, so yes, one can realize that I am the Atma, but that is not technically the awareness of the Atma. It is the Atma being self-luminously existent, and that luminosity is itself realized. It's self-aware. So anyway, there's a little bit of just a distinction there. So the practical applications here, they're completely applicable in everything we do. But when we're seeing, when we're talking, when we're thinking, are we moving ahead or are we moving down? This is a question each person has to ask himself when we are interacting with any human being, any animal for that matter, any person for that matter, or any circumstance, any situation, anything we're seeing on TV or anything that we're reading, whatever the experience is in the three states, is that experience taking us forward, or is that experience drowning the mind in the sansar? Fundamental question, very practical, super practical in fact. And it is the most important question that each person needs to ask every single moment, actually, in the present moment. Is what is being done by the body, the mind, the senses, etc., and the experiences that are coming to the body, mind, and the senses, through the body, mind, senses. Is the mind, is the human being, is that individualized jiva, is that person taking power that is available and taking it further? Now, taking it further would mean what exactly? So, the barometer, as I have presented many times before, is your energy state. That is your direct barometer, whether you're going up or down. If energies are intact and they are harmonious, and the experience of the body and the mind is very clear, very stable, there's good quality of energy, that means we're moving in the right direction. We're moving ahead. And if we start experiencing negativity, we start experiencing knots in our stomach, we start experiencing all kinds of worries and tensions and fears and tribulations and grief and loss and all that kind of stuff, all of that is degradation. That is not going up. That is that is the damage to the energies, but because of agnan. See, agnan timirandasya. We don't want to be in agnan. Agnan is what is causing energy damage. Energy damage is the key thing to keep in mind. We don't want our internal energies to be torn apart by ignorance. It is our internal bank account, spiritual quote bank account. Why should anybody allow that to be damaged? You should see the life of Adi Shankaracharya ji, life of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. He has put these great sages, they have put so much emphasis on keeping these energies intact. It's unreal. It is just unbelievable to what extent they have done so. Because they see the value of not damaging your internal energy. That is why Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Matsar, different kinds of these damaging activities, worries, tensions, grief, loss, fears, all such things come to an end. But how do they come to an end? They come to an end when we meditatively hold on to the words of the Vivek Chudamani, the Vachanamrut, etc. We hold on to those words as if our life depended on it. See, we don't do that. We just kind of listen to a little bit here and there. Okay. But it's the intensity of the holding. Truly, look at this language here. Samsara varidho. Magnam samsara varidho. Drowning in the sansar. What is that? Look at the world outside. Look at what the human beings are doing. They are doing only this. They are drowning in the sansar. And you can see this. This is not a criticism or anything like that. We can see. Look at every A to Z the activity that is going on. Not all of it, but a good portion of it is where the Jivatma is drowning in the sansar. How is that Jivatma drowning in the sansar? That Jivatma is drowning in the sansar fundamentally by trying to find constant joy where it doesn't exist. You cannot ever, under any circumstances, at any time, for any reason, ever find constant joy, that is ananda, in the sansar. In terms of running after the sansar. The sansar can be perceived as the Brahman. Then that is ananda. But that's a higher vision. Otherwise, running in the sansar, rajogun, tamogun, continuously pursuing the experiences of the sansar to no end, to one's detriment and attachment and entanglement, and to the level of drowning. What do we see today? We see these massive amounts of money spent on psychiatric medications, on illicit drugs, on pornography. Something like pornography is a multi-billion-dollar industry. What is that? It's drowning in the sansar. On cigarettes, alcohol. Not to mention the running after the enticing objects of this material world. Running after the enticing objects, one will drown in the sansar. It is not one is criticizing the object. It is one's belief that if I run after and keep getting more and more of that particular experience, a bigger house, a better car, a bigger position, then I'll be happy, then I'll be happy, then I'll be happy, then I'll be happy. And if somebody does make progress, there is some experience there. There is no question. If you move into $1 million home and you were living in a $200,000 home, for some time there is an experience. For some time there is an experience. Wow, this is awesome. This is cool. This is this. This is this. This is this. This is this. Sure, nobody can deny that, and it should not be denied. So we're not rejecting that progress. You may even have the desire for that. But if you don't get that, leave it alone. If you get it, it's okay. If you don't get it, it's okay. That's the equanimity the Bhagavad Gita talks about, the sthita pragnata. So the drowning is where we are trapped in the pursuit of experiences in the sansara. See, we are trapped in the pursuit of the experiences of the sansara, where there is lack of realization that those experiences are only a wave on the ocean of consciousness. They're just a wave on the ocean of consciousness. They are not going to, you can keep expanding them. You can expand them to some extent and then you drop down. That's all. Now the other aspects of this drowning, violence. Ahimsa, in our scriptures we say ahimsa parama dharmo. Why ahimsa? Ahimsa means non-violence. Non-violence by word, by thought, and by deed. Man karma vachan. That is non-violence. And one may actually be like Arjuna, who has to commit a violent act because for dharma, the extreme situation, I mentioned it before, but still he's non-violent. Because he's just performing the action as a duty. That's what the Gita is teaching us. We have to be able to live in this ocean of sansara. We have to do what we need to do, but we have to do it without contaminating our mind or our realization from within, and perform our duties. So if you take a quality like non-violence, physical violence is one thing, physically hitting, etc. Now, obviously we know that thousands of wars are there, countries are are hurting each other. Religious violence has also been there. So much disagreement is there on so many different subjects. In fact, humanity disagrees on everything, whether it's politics, nationality, religion, whether it's even the scientific approaches. There are so many disagreements. Well, my perspective on that is that disagreements are good if they lead to wisdom and if we don't hurt each other because of disagreement. Disagreement is necessary for progress, but disagreement should not be there in a way that we wind up damaging each other. That is what the real practical meaning in this entire Vivek Chudamani is, to realize the oneness that we are all together. Now, why is that so difficult to realize? It is difficult to realize because of the drowning in the sansar. When person is drowning in the ocean, how they're going to realize, how they can think of anything else. They need to stop drowning first. They'll be finished inside the ocean. The drowning in the sansar is rebirth again and again, again and again. Most of humanity is drowning in the sansar, and when children are born into this world, the parents and their subsequent generations, the conditioning from past drowns them also. This is the fact. Children are born in a competitive society, in a society where they have to be competitive and bash somebody else to progress further. That idea itself is the greatest ignorance, to bash somebody to progress further. This is the drowning in the sansar. And this is what we see. We have private schools and high-class schools, and we have there's so much stratification that maintains generation to generation. Humanity is psychologically infantile. It is nowhere near the Vivek Chudamani. Nowhere near. It is not even at 1% level, the whole humanity, of what this one verse is talking about. That is why Shankaracharya ji is also stating, and this is a very relevant point, that the sansara, even though it exists, even though it is an ocean of change and all of that, keep certain distance from it. When we go to the beach, take Rehoboth Beach, or you take Ocean City, or take the Outer Banks, or you take any beach, we may actually go in the water a little bit. Don't we walk on the beach? Some people swim in the beach also. Do they go into the ocean to drown in there? Here's a very simple example that we can all understand directly of this verse. When next time we all go to a beach, including me, remember this verse number 9 in Vivek Chudamani, that there's an ocean. We're walking along the ocean. We can appreciate the ocean from a distance. We can even put our feet in the ocean and enjoy the waves. But if we go further and further, we may swim to some extent. If we go further and further, somehow we will drown. That is the whole point, that this entire sansar, there is a certain relationship with the sansar we have to maintain without drowning in it, so we can uplift out of it. To the ability to go in it to some extent, to enjoy it, to experience it, but not to the extent that it engulfs you. See, how many scriptures do we need to understand this? Walking on the beach, you can have full Brahma Jnana just from that. Nature is teaching us all the time. That is what Guru Dattatreya ji taught us. Learn from everyone, God is speaking to us in every situation. Do we have the wisdom to listen? So, sansar varidho. Do not drown in this sansar. Yes, you have to live in the sansar. Yes, we have to maintain relationships. Yes, we have to do everything. Yes, it's just like when you're going with a bathing suit inside the ocean. You want to go for on the beach and you want to have the nice enjoy. Okay, but you have to be careful. If you go underneath the water, you have to hold your breath. You have to be careful. You don't let the water go into your nose, into your throat, into your stomach. You cannot breathe then. So you've got to protect yourself from the water going inside your lungs. And you can still enjoy. Similarly, if we do decide to take a dip underneath the ocean, you've got to protect yourself so that that salty water doesn't go into your lungs and you are dead. That protection is Durga, Shri Durga Devi. That protection is the mantra Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundai Viche. That protection is the grace of the Sadgurus. But it's, as far as Shakti Upasana is concerned, this is the most important protection. When we do this Shakti Sadhana, the power of the goddess is such that she is going to protect you. Kavacham. There is a kavach meaning shield, that is created so that you can actually go and take a dip in the sansar without drowning in the sansar. You see this point. Now, somebody might say, what about we just stay with Brahma Vidya, stay with gurus? Why do you have to do these Namah Shivaya mantra, the Om Aim Rim Klim mantra? Well, if you don't have to do them if you are living a very sattvic life and you're not getting so much involved in the sansar, and you can kind of just, you're just living very simple, straightforward, you're alone most of the time and you're not entangled with anybody, highly sattvic attitude, and your aim is towards the Brahman only, and you're doing the Vaishnava mantras or the Swaminarayan mantras or the other Shri Sampradaya mantras or the Christianity or whatever it might be. Yes, you can progress that way. But that is very unlikely. It's very unlikely to progress further while living in the sansar without the protection of the goddess. Everybody, this is my opinion, every human being needs to have protection of the Mahashakti, because you're living with a human body. Human body is all energy. Human body is all energy, mind is energy, the sansar is energy, and people are drowning in the sansar. To not drown in the sansar, you have to be protected. It's like you're taking one of those suits, those diving suits, and then you can go inside. Or if you're in a submarine, you can go inside the world, inside the ocean. You cannot go and explore the bottom of the ocean with a bathing suit. You have to have the proper gears and the proper kind of ship and the diving gear and some kind of I don't know what they call it, but there's a special, it's not a submarine but something like that goes underneath the ocean, and you have to have so much stuff to go inside the ocean. Similarly, to explore the material world further without drowning in it and to experience it, the kavacham is necessary of the goddess. She is in charge of the whole material world. And this mantra, Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundai Viche, it is a Maha mantra that protects everybody if it is chanted from drowning in this sansara. And people who say we want to reject that, we don't want to do that, okay, then feel free to drown. That's all. That's the only thing I would say. Continue to drown, because that's what's happening. And people, so sometimes they don't realize the power of the goddess. Not acknowledging that, and then getting tormented again and again. Why do you want that? Now, of course, if one is like in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, pure ekantik bhakti is there, you're following exactly what Maharaj has stated, where you're not keeping any attachment towards anything. You're already in the uplifted state. You're in the yoga rudha state. You're in the ekantik state. You're not concerned about the world at all. You're performing your duty here and there. You're not asking anything from God. If you have such qualities, you don't need to do anything other than whatever ishta mantra you have, and just be absorbed in bhajan, kirtan, mantra, sadhana, etc. Live whatever life simply without any kind of entanglement, and you're free. But people are not in that state, and they are drowning. So if somebody's drowning, they need to stop drowning. And that is why the Shiv Shakti mantras are necessary. Anyway, that's a different subject. It's not a different subject, but it's a long, protracted discussion, which I have talked about before. I will talk about more also later on. This is very, very relevant, very necessary to understand this thing, because we do not want to drown in family life. Family life is for love, not for drowning in the family life. We do not want to drown in occupation life. We want to enjoy and serve the world through our occupations. See the difference between love and drowning. This is mixed. This is the problem. Even if you have just a pet, there's so much love. You can have so much love. If you have a dog, for example, you can see the dog as an incarnation of the Bhairava, which is actually the fact. And if you touch the feet of the dog as an incarnation of Bhairava, I want to know if anybody's doing that. I'll touch that person's feet first. I said, if you have a pet and if you have a dog, if you touch the feet of the dog and say, Om Namah Shivaya, this is Bhairava, you are free and the dog actually is Shiva. And if you are attached internally, emotionally, oh, this and that, that's all okay. But then what happens? Then that is called Mrug Akar Vritti. There's a prasang in Bhagavatam that the Bharat Raja got attached to a dove, a baby deer. And then he was a Mahatyagi, Mahagnani. But because of his internal emotional attachment to the dove, he became a dove in the next life. It's called Bharat Ji Ka Chamatkari Akhyan, Srimad Bhagavatam. So if we have animals, if we have people around us, friends around us, family members around us, only love should be present. That's it. Not attachment. If attachment is there, the internal emotional attachment that, oh, this person is mine and this is this, there's this internal mixing inside. Then the pain begins, suffering is there. But not only that, wherever that being goes, in terms of Prakriti, that is where you'll be attached to. That's what happened with Bharat. This is Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching. Sachin isn't saying anything here, by the way. Sachin doesn't say anything. This is only just a transmitter, that's all. Srimad Bhagavat is saying, Vyasji is saying, who is the Adi Guru of all the scriptures. My God, what a story that is. Bharatji, that is not the Bharatji that of Bhagwan Ram's brother. This is the king Bharat, based on whose name the word Bharat has come to India. So he was Mahatyagi and he left everything in deep meditation, very awakened being. But a dove came, small, and then he started taking care. Fine, no problem. That's a duty to take care, to love, affection, everything is okay. But then something more happened. He started keeping that dove in his meditations. He started becoming attached. He left everything to get out of attachment, and still attachment came back. What a story this is. Yeah? It's called Bharat Ji Ka Chamatkari Akhyan. Chamatkari in the sense that, my God, because when the time came for him to leave the body, he knew this was going to happen. So his consciousness, the psychological consciousness, his Atma Tattva went into the garbha of the deer, and he was born as a deer. And then this story continues in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he was aware this had happened. In the next life, he was born as Jad Bharat. And he acted deliberately as if he was a crazy person. Because he was so how can I say? He was so frightened about the fact of attachments. He didn't want attachment from anybody. So people thought he was a madman. And there's a story about that also. He deliberately acted that way. That is called Jad Bharat. And in Swaminarayan Sampradaya, Nishkulanand Swami, who was one of the Paramahansas of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he said that Nishkulanand Swami said, I was that Jad Bharat. That said, I remembered these 3 lives from the past lives. Think about this. This is all documented. So this is not a small thing. Ye koi khel nahi hai, this Brahmic realization. The ability to live with the family members with only love, without an iota of attachment. With the whole of creation. Family members is one thing, but the whole Vasudeva Kutumbakam, whole of creation we live with. We live with it with love, with grace, with service, but not with ego-driven attachment. That is where the energy damage, conflicts, rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva, family problems, this degradation begins from there. And if even one person becomes fully awakened, that person becomes a beacon of light for millions potentially. ज्योत से ज्योत जगाओ, सदगुरु मेरे अंतर तिमिर मिटाओ। अद्भुत बात है सब कुछ, अमेजिंग अमेजिंग। I offer my prostrations to all the great sages, to everybody. Ishvara sarvabhutanam ruddeshwarajna tishtati. To the Lord that exists in the heart of all beings. May He bless me to continue this contemplation. Bless all of us together who are on this journey towards higher realization, and we will continue tomorrow.